So here's the bombing that happened in Damascus of the main Ministry of Defense building. And this was caught live. You can see this and hear it.
قصف جديد قصف جديد يا شباب قصف جديد ما بنهاية الأركان خالص قصف جديد يا شباب قصف خطورة بسرعة 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 قصف ثاني دمروه نعم قصف 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 هيئة الأركان.
It's not clear what's the total death toll, but if you consider the people who have been buried under the rubble and haven't been discovered, maybe this is dozens of people wiped out in broad daylight IDF strike in Damascus Ministry of Defense. And then the presidential palace, an area right outside the presidential palace in Damascus, was also bombed, was also struck in this way. So this is such a massive escalation by Israel that happened. So what led to this? There were clashes earlier this week between the Druze in the south of Syria, in Suwaida, the area of Suwaida, and the Bedouins, the Arab Bedouins who are Muslim, and the Druze. Druze are a different religion. They don't consider themselves Muslim. They're considered an Abrahamic religion, but they believe in the Quran. They believe that the Prophet ﷺ was a prophet, but they don't consider themselves Muslim. They have their own books, their own written books, what they consider revelation. They believe in reincarnation. They have some other weird beliefs as well, and they're kind of an ethnic religion. They don't seek converts. But in terms of demographics, they're 3% of the Syrian population. They're 6% of the Lebanese population, and they're about 2% of the Israeli population, between 1 and 2% of the Israeli population. So all the Druze of the world, there's about 1 million Druze in the entire world. They're concentrated in this area, mainly in Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. So you had, not all the Druze, but there were certain factions amongst the Druze who were attacking Bedouins. And there was fighting, and hundreds have died, basically, in the past week because of these clashes. What the Syrian government has done is send forces to the south from Damascus to reestablish law and order, to basically stop this conflict, stop this bloodshed between the Druze and the Bedouins. And what does Syria do? Or what does Israel do? Israel bombs the Syrian forces coming into the south, bombs the Syrian forces, and then bombs Damascus, as we saw on video. And what does Israel say? Israel says, retreat, leave the south. You are not allowed to come south of Damascus. We're warning you, Ahmed Shara, do not bring your forces south of Damascus. This was the ultimatum that was given by Israel to Ahmed Shara. And what did Ahmed Shara do? Retreated. He took the forces, retreated back to Damascus. I'm sorry, Sar. My apologies, Sar. And retreated. And then Ahmed Shara made a statement which we'll read. Where is this? So here he is. You can watch the video. It's just a 7-minute video. I won't play the whole thing. You can see him standing here. You can see the eagle of Baal, the pagan god Baal, with a gold pin on his shoulder. You can see it better here. You know, he has his gold pin. Eagle, which we showed, this is the pagan god Baal. And he's standing at this podium with his eagle god Baal right here as well on the podium. But what is he saying? So here's an English translation saying that we try to restore stability. We want to expel the lawless factions, and Israel interfered. The Israeli entity responded by launching widespread attacks on civilian and government infrastructure to undermine these efforts, greatly complicating the situation and pushing matters towards a dangerous escalation. We face two choices: open war with Israel at the cost of our Druze people's safety and the stability of Syria and the region, or allowing Druze elders and religious leaders to return to reason and prioritize the national interest over those seeking to tarnish the honorable image of the mountains people, meaning the Druze. We are not afraid of war. We have spent our lives facing challenges and defending our people, but we have prioritized the interests of Syrians over chaos and destruction. The best option at this stage was to take a precise decision to protect the unity of our homeland and the safety of its people based on the supreme national interests. We have decided to assign some local factions and Druze religious leaders the responsibility for maintaining security in Suwaida. This decision stems from our deep understanding of the gravity of the situation and the risk it poses to our national unity. We aim to avoid dragging the country into a new wide-scale war that could derail Syria from its path of post-war recovery and burden it with additional political and economic hardship left by the former regime. So this is admitting defeat. This is, you retreated. You are saying that, oh, this is for our national interest. Well, okay, it's for your national interest. I agree, it is for your national interest because Israel is now occupying the south of Syria, and if you don't play ball with exactly whatever Israel and the United States tell you to do, they're going to completely decimate the country. They're going to make Syria and Damascus into a parking lot. So yeah, it is in the interest of the Syrian people for you to retreat and go back into your hole. The problem is the decisions that should have been made to prevent this from happening, this reality from happening, this eventuality from happening. You didn't make those decisions. You didn't make those decisions back in December, back in November. That's the problem. And we'll talk about what those decisions are. But now you're faced with this impossible choice. Now you're faced, because of the previous poor decision making and the absolute blunders that were made in the past, now we're faced in this situation where you have to say, oh, well, the Druze will take care of it. Okay, well, what happens when another faction in another part of the country decides to start a civil war? And Israel, again, bombs another government building and says, don't get involved. When the Alawis in the west, for example, or the Kurds in the northeast, or another faction, maybe an ISIS faction, start to agitate in civil war, and then Ahmed Shara is trying to quell that civil war, is trying to reestablish law and order, and then Israel bombs the presidential palace again and says, hey, hold off. Your military cannot be moving towards any of these regions. Then Ahmed Shara is going to be forced to make another statement like this and say, well, we want to give the local elders the opportunity to solve the issue. This is how Syria is just going to be carved up. It's going to be carved up into different regions. You have the Druze in the south, you have the Alawis in the west, you have the Kurds in the northeast, an ISIS faction maybe in the southeast, bordering with Iraq. Like this is exactly the Yanon plan. This is exactly what the Israeli government has said is their vision for Syria, is to balkanize Syria, to cut it up into these smaller semi-autonomous states that can be dominated and occupied by Israel and the United States. That's the vision. So this is phase one complete. Phase one complete. And Ahmed Shara says, yeah, we don't want war. Okay, so the decision that you're making now is a product of the decisions that you have been making for the past 7 months. And what's going to happen in the next 7 months is a product of the decision that you're making today.